Welcome back, my friends, to TFT Hyper Roll with Artark. Let's start off graphic. You know, like, comment, subscribe, live shows on the weekends at noon. That's what I got to say here. This build, well, it's gonna present itself really early, and I don't play it that often. But when I do, there are some rules that I follow that I feel helps me out, and hopefully this video will help you if you decide to go this way. And we're moving into mechs, but let's jump to the augments because that's where it really takes place. So at this point, the game has really shown me nothing except that it's giving me Infinite Team in the shop, and I just don't want to do it again. So I decide to go with Three's Company and see what it gives me. And I get a Morgana, a Jax, and then a Vayne and Riven. But I had a Draven and a Wukong in the shop, so I figured, you know what, let me give Mech a try. The game is going to nag you to select a prime. Don't. The reason is, Draven is going to be your carry early on and likely in late game too. If you select him as your prime though, he's very likely to lose early because he's just not going to stand up to 3 other champions. You need the meat in front of you. So I don't like selecting a prime until I have enough meat in front of Draven that he'll be able to hold up long enough to execute things and allow you to win. What I am hoping for is to get a healing augment of some kind, and then the key 3 items for Draven being Infinity Edge, Rage Blade, Last Whisper. That way he's just doing maximum damage and doing it faster and faster. This will be more important when we have less champs on the screen, because you'll see here, even with the amount of meat we had in front of him, he just barely gets through this. It's time for an item choice, and I'm a little torn between the loaded die and the Giant's Belt. However, I have found it fairly easy to get mechs because not that many people go it, so if you commit in, you're probably safe to go without the loaded die, so I pick up the Giant's Belt to make a Warmugs. I've also picked up Riven, as you can see, and that's because she pairs well with both Jax and Wukong, as she is Brawler and Defender. Now, when you see a team like this, an underground team, keep them in mind, because they are collecting items and are likely going to come back and bite you later in the game. They're easy to get through now, not necessarily at the end. Now I end up getting the 3-cost hero augments, which are not my favorite, especially since at this point I'm planning on Draven being the carry. So there are the 2 Jax augments, and here's one thing I'm not sure. Will Grandmaster's training kick in as doubled when Jax is knocked out? If someone knows, please let me know in the comments. I actually don't know, but I decided to pass on it. I had a Morgana, so I pick up Gas Giant Slayer, and that's just because now I can do extra damage and keep Morgana on the team, because Mech has a lot of variety to go around it since there are only 5 that you need to make your full team. And the current plan in my head is to make Garen the super mech once I'm able to get him, and then have Draven in the backline just cleaning up. Having Morgana in to stun things and give us more power, well, that's just a bonus. It's time for an item choice, and again, 3 key items for Draven: Infinity Edge, Rage Blade, Last Whisper. So this will give me the Last Whisper. I'm really hoping that I'm able to get a healing augment or enough beef in front of him that he doesn't have to worry about healing, because this is just a pure damage build. And still, despite the constant nagging of select a prime, I am holding back. I need a frontline. If I give up Wukong and Jax, I lose a large part of my frontline, a lot of the beef, and yet Draven gets stronger, but he might not be able to hold up, and I'd rather keep winning. I'm currently using Rammus most likely as an item holder for Garen. That is my thought, and my thought is to go to 4 defenders, which would mean I'm bringing in Shen, and that will go along with Riven, Wukong, and Garen, so then I can get to the full mech and defender team. It is time for our final augment, and I really want healing. Thank you, Gary. At least you're here. Celestial Blessing 2 will do nicely. Then we have an anvil to open for an item. I grab the sword for Morgana so I can make a Spear of Sojin. Then what I want to do is complete my Garen items, on Rammus, which are going to be Gargoyle Stoneplate and Deathblade. The reason Deathblade is because Garen's ult scales off of his attack damage, so I want his attack damage to be really high. And at the moment, I'm still holding out on not making a super mech because I want to get to a 2-star Garen before I do it. Now, I have a champion duplicator, so it shouldn't be too hard, but I need to get there first. I managed to find a Garen just before this fight, but he's still 1 star, so I didn't necessarily want to make him the mech yet, because this did give me the 4 defenders, so I was hoping they can hold up. Unfortunately, there's a LeBlanc back there that doesn't care about our armor at all. We held up fine against all of the AD champs, but once LeBlanc is able to get in, yeah, just get knocked out. I got stuck with a duelist emblem of all things off the carousel, then not fantastic items here. I'm really just looking for Morgana items, but I can go ahead get her the Morellonomicon so she can add some anti-heal, and there is our gold 3-star Draven. Opening the anvil from the NPC, again, really looking for Morgana items at this point because we don't want to itemize either Wukong or Jax since they're just going to go away. There was nothing perfect for Urgot there, so it's better to just itemize Morgana and make her a little more potent as part of the team. And we finally have the chance to get our 2-star Garen. We're just going to have to give up on the idea of a gold Wukong, and we can make him the Prime. He's going to absorb Wukong and Jax, and that will leave Draven as our carry from the back, and Garen as just a giant ball of meat up front. I've moved Urgot over to in front of Draven, so there's some CC going out that will help keep Draven and Morgana safe. You can see Garen can take the damage. His ult will also stun people, which will leave them in place for Draven to just execute, something he seems to enjoy just a little too much. And now the plan is really simple. We just need to get a Leona to finish this off. I've picked up a Twisted Fate just in case that doesn't happen, because then at least that will be a use for the Duelist emblem. This one gets really close, but Garen is able to hold on and finish them off. And that brings us to our final 2-ish items, and I say ish only because we have an Urgot. So we're going to grab an Urgot item, then we get the Leona. We had to put in the Twisted Fate. Now the Duelist emblem just kind of doesn't matter anymore, and we pick up a couple of items that will be good for Urgot. But as I was also saying before, it's ish because if Urgot dredges up items, we get them. Decision. Who do we bring up to 2 stars? Is it going to be Leona or Urgot? Well, it's Leona because she's also getting the Prime buff. So she will be a better 2-star champ than Urgot at this time. Now, once you are up to 5, everyone is getting 55 ability power and 55% attack damage. So Garen, along with that Deathblade and being the Mecha Prime, well, his ults are going to be very strong. Leona at 2 stars is also going to do a ton of damage and hold things in place. You can see Urgot did dredge up an item, at least a needlessly large rod so far, but Garen doing his job as the tank, and then Draven finishing the execute and leading the damage charts. And with that victory, we are now into the top 4, or should I say top 3, because that's how it worked out. We are up against a Spellslinger team, which is our worst nightmare. I'm going to go ahead and separate out our main carries here, and that's because we don't want to get caught in a tornado, but we're mostly armor, and this is going to be doing spell damage, so we don't really have what it takes to survive this, so we may need the other team to knock this team out for us to have a chance. Since they are a direct counter to us, we're going to need some help along the way. This is often going to happen, and luckily that is exactly what happened. Remember that underground team from earlier that I said we'd have to watch out for? Well, they've got a ton of items now, and they were able to take care of the Spellslingers. But most of their power is AD. They're relying on Ultimate Ezreal, which is AD, and Samira, which is AD, to really do their damage. Their Sona, their Syndra, those aren't the power centers. And you can see, thanks to the fact that we have Defender, Garen is able to hold up, which allows Draven to do what he needs to do and execute things, and that is GG for everyone. If you go Mech, hold Mech until a little later in the match when you're going to get better returns for it. Hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, have an absolutely awesome day.